Hi, this is composer Brian Raphael Nabors, happy to answer some questions for the Philadelphia Chamber Music Society. I began composing around age 16. Officially, my first attempt was when I was 13 years old. I didn't have enough music theory training at the time to really know what I was doing. Notes were all over the page. Stems were the wrong direction. But I actually started playing piano when I was about 5 years old, and I played by ear until formal lessons came at age 12. And then that's when I started dabbling in the back of my practice method books. There were all these empty pages for you to fill in your own notes. And so I started fiddling around with that. And when I was 16, I was very inspired by the choir music I was singing in the SATB choir in high school at the time, and I started writing choral music. And so I was primarily a choral music composer for the most part until I started diving into instrumental music, and then that's when I decided to change my plans from becoming an architect, which I was in a complete training program for with advanced mathematics classes and everything, and going to architecture firms every Saturday. I just changed my mind because I was writing so much music and still taking piano at the same time that I just couldn't run from the destiny that was calling me, which was to compose. And so my brain is very detail oriented and mathematically architectural based, but the music is very emotional and very contemplative in the way that my own sort of disposition and spirituality and everything else is. So I took all of these different styles, from the church to the neo soul and R&B to the crunk music and the trap music that I heard growing up, and blended it all together. And so my main focus has been bringing everything that has made me who I am into the concert space so that more people from all over the place can really stick together and make this thing an American experience. My music has evolved through sort of a meshing of cultures, as I said before. And over time, I've just gathered different things and thought, ooh, what if I take, this marching band experience and put it on the orchestral stage? What if I take the Hammond organ that I heard at church and make a concerto out of it? So all the time, these things are evolving in me, and I'm sort of grabbing all these different elements to throw on the stage, to make my own, and to come up with new sound worlds, new soundscapes out of the things that have made me the human being I am today. I would say what inspires and motivates me as a composer is the world, people, plants, animals, trees, the human condition, what we are going through on this planet, climate change itself, astronomical things, planetary bodies moving, elements of the universe, just everything. And I like to tell stories from different perspectives and contexts in a way that people can create in their own world from listening to the music, emotionally tangible things that they can take home with them that inspire them to be as motivated as they possibly can be themselves, and also just encouraged to take care of one another. It's really a communal art form for me. And I really want people to be able to get whatever they can from the music, whether it be closure, healing of some kind, and also my spirituality, my faith plays a huge role in it. I'm a very optimistic human being, and you have to be, because so much goes on in the world. And so if we can give people something as artists, sometimes the stories themselves may be very bombastic and jarring, but sometimes that's the thing we need to sort of wake people up. And so I'm open to telling stories that do a little bit of everything, but it's always viewing the world through a lens in which authentic stories and narratives can be told, and also ones that you dream up, with the purpose of inspiring. In terms of the manifestation of the music, orchestrally or within the chamber context, it actually starts pretty much the same way, with an emotional response to something, but it's usually the technical aspects that get worked out a little bit differently because of instrumental ensemble size and the ranges of the instruments and just the timbral forces that I'm dealing with. So something may give me the exact same emotional response, but then if I know I'm going to be writing an orchestral piece, I'll hear this wall of sound in my head and have to dictate where all that goes. And usually I can already hear the strings or the brass. But in a chamber context, it manifests itself with the same sound, but it might be smaller, of course, because of the ensemble size. Or there are techniques that I work out differently, bow strokes, instrumental combinations that happen in a different way in my head, because I know I'm writing for a chamber ensemble. But the emotional sort of beginnings of a piece are exactly the same. But then they get filtered into these sort of sub-categorical ways of manifestation. So the 7 dances for flute, clarinet, and cello began in 2019 when I premiered them with the Atlanta Chamber Players. And so audiences are going to experience 7 unique vignettes taken from different styles of music. And all of them aren't officially dances per se, but you can actually dance to all of them. So it begins with this hyper crazy tango, followed by a slow foxtrot, very swing. And then there is a hip hop jam, followed by, and I can't remember the order exactly, but I'm gonna try to remember all of them, a march, which is like a funeral march, a very kind of chaotic waltz, if you will. There is also a salsa, and then it ends with a hold down. So it was a lot of fun. Some of these styles I've kind of composed in before in other pieces, but it's really a lot of fun to sort of make these little vignettes, and it's been a really, really fun piece and something that I really want to get back to doing. I've been doing a lot of large scale, large form pieces in the last few years, and so a lot of times it's fun to look back at my old pieces and see that people are enjoying them. And it inspires me to go back and do more work like that. So I appreciate you all for playing it. Happy to walk you all through some of the extended techniques that you'll find in the piece. Some I really like to use happen in the wind instruments. So I use a lot of breath sounds in my chamber and my orchestral music. One of my favorites to use is the beatboxing of the flute, which basically the flutist talks into the mouthpiece, and what you get is a very percussive sound. And you can do this with the use of different sort of vowel shapes, whether it be a dark vowel or something that's a little bit more skinny in nature that produces a more sort of pensive tint. There are other flute techniques, jet whistles, air sounds that happen throughout the wind instruments. Throughout the cello, what you'll get is a lot of slides, a lot of interesting sort of techniques such as harmonic glissandi, which basically you touch lightly on the string and whatever partials come out on that string just kind of happen naturally and produce a really interesting sort of surreal effect. So it's been a lot of fun having some of these techniques be used in this piece to sort of capture the elements of the styles themselves. I have a lot of stumping that happens in some of the Latin American grooves that I have in this piece, like the first movement with the hyper tango, and other movements that use sort of these gestures in a stylistic fashion also exist in the hip hop jam, which the entire ensemble becomes basically an 808 machine. And so you have the flute with the beatboxing actually symbolizing the hi-hat that you'll get in a hip-hop track. And so there are just many examples of that used sort of throughout the piece as a whole.